Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be doing a deck profile on Beelze King of Dark Dragons Turbo. It was a deck that me and Pink Reaper did a tag duel with, so if you want to check that out, I'll also leave a link down below in the description box, as well as a download link for the Dropbox download of this actual deck. But let's go ahead and talk about the deck, and we'll briefly explain some of the smaller combos that you can do in the deck, as well as its basic win condition. The win condition of this deck is essentially a synchro deck, but it can also play this game where it just makes Beelze, and then certain decks just can't have a good matchup against Beelze. This card is a card where some decks only have like one or two answers, especially in decks that don't rely on back row. This card is just, it's just too strong, and there's just some decks that can't deal with this. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. So first off, Big Daddy BLS, you already know it goes in everything. And the thing is, a lot of times I'll just throw three, like if it's a dark deck, I can just throw in 3 effect failures, and then I am good to go for BLS. And someone's gonna be like, 3's not enough lights. Well, tell that to me, and also tell that to Billy Break that has one, how many YCSs. But in his Inzector deck, he played 3 effect failure, and he also played BLS. And I think he also might have played Thunder King. If you really want to, you could throw in Thunder King in here as well. It's a great card, but unfortunately at once, sometimes you just don't draw the card fast enough. If you really want to, you can make this card over here sometimes in the off chance that you have BLS and you just really want to make BLS, you have this card. That's basically why this card is here. Otherwise, I would probably just play more of these because this card is amazing. Anyways, next up we have Dark Arm Dragon. Pretty much everything in the deck is dark, but keep in mind, Mizuki is not dark. I've had people say, especially on Dueling Network or even in real life. I personally felt like Mizuki should have been a dark monster also, but he's Earth, just like Pyramid Turtle. But nonetheless, he's a pretty awesome card. Next up, I play 1 Gores, because you can only play 1 Gores in the TCG. In the OCG, I believe Gores is at 3 right now, which is absolutely crazy, but, it's OCG. They also have Cyberstein. But next up, I play 1 Caius the Shadow Monarch. This is more of a random tech card. Every time I end up building zombies, I just like 1 Caius. I don't know what it is. Originally I was playing a Photon Strike Balancer, but I really like this card too much, and I really love double Lavalla Kane. But you can definitely, if you want to, put in Photon Strike Balancer. It's definitely a great card. In the off chance that, let's say you have Mystic Tomato float into like a Mystic Tomato or something, and Ophion is on the field. Therefore, you get rid of Ophion. I just really like this card. I've always really liked 1 Caius in zombies. It's just a perfect card for me, but if you want to, by all means, take it out. It also allows access for other things. Just rank 6 plays with the Malicious, now that Malicious is at 3. So next up, we have 3 Malicious. This is basically what runs the deck, because originally this deck started out as a modified zombie deck, and then I kept on modifying it to the point where I was like, you know what, let's just put 3 Refers in, let's put in 3 Malicious, and just make the deck as fast as possible. Because if you can get out this card relatively safe, like you don't have anything like a Compulse to deal with, Compulse is at 1, but I got lots of back row hate for that. But like once you get rid of their back row, and you can get this card successfully out, and they don't have like a response to it, it's kind of tough for some decks to actually get over. Some decks might only have 1 Big Eye, they might only have 1 101 Silent Honor Arc to get over it, and then after that they fold. Like, they don't have any options because everything in their deck relies on some type of destruction effect or getting a monster with high attack, and they simply just can't deal with this card. But Malicious, it's a fantastic card. Basically what you want to do is you want to be able to discard this card to special summon Dark Grapher, or you can even normal summon Grapher and then discard this card to also send Plague Spreader to the graveyard. And then from there, maybe you've if you special summon it, obviously, then if you have another monster you can normal summon, or if you're going Summoner Monk into Grepher, basically what you want to do is activate his effect, get Malicious and Plague Spreader into the graveyard at the same time. And then from there, you obviously have access to making double, level 8 synchro monsters, and at that point you can win a lot of games because this card is it's fantastic. It's super safe on like everything, and there are very few answers for like I said, some decks to actually get over it. But the basic play is to get out Grepher, whether you special it or normal it, get Plague Spreader and Mizuki, or not, well, you don't really need Mizuki in the grave. You also can't get rid of Mizuki because he's not dark. I always think he's dark for some reason myself, because he's a zombie. But anyways, you just want to get in Plague Spreader and Malicious into the graveyard. If you have Mizuki also in the graveyard, then you can probably you can sometimes even go for 3 level 8 synchro monsters, which is kind of rare to do, but the off chance that you have access to that is definitely possible. Or maybe you have a Book of Life, that's also another option. What's cool is, I should also mention, Mystic Tomato can actually get you Malicious. So maybe if you already have a Plague Spreader in your hand, you don't have that Grepher play, you don't have that Summoner Monk play, hey, you can go Mystic Tomato into Malicious, and then normal summon your Plague Spreader, and bam, you have Beelze right there. So pretty easy concept. Next up, Triple Mizuki, just because it's a great card to throw it into the graveyard with Lavalla Kane. Whether you go for Summoner Monk into Grepher, then activate Grepher's effect, and then you go into Lavalla Chain to either send this to the graveyard, send Mizuki. It just allows you for more access of just free cards, basically. You can also play a Burial from the different dimension, but I find that card to be a little bit slow. I mean, at that point, if you have multiple zombies in the graveyard that you've already banished, at that point you should have won the game, because this is kind of a linear deck, and it has like one real option, but there are some other things that you can go for to make the game go a little bit longer. Next up I play Tuned Mystic Tomatoes, and I mean, pretty much your targets are going to be Malicious. 99% of the time, though, I go for Summoner Monk, because, obviously if they have two monsters on the board, don't go Mystic Tomato into Summoner Monk. Go Mystic Tomato into Mystic Tomato, and then make Summoner Monk, because that would be a much better play. Next up, choose Summoner Monk, because there's a lot of stuff that you can discard with, and he basically opens up plays for first turn Beelze, or first turn Beelze plus, like, I don't know, Void Overdragon if you have no cards. I like this card too, but sometimes I would rather just make double Beelze because it's too strong. Next I play 2 Tour Guide. I don't play 3 because I don't like not having Sangan as a target, but Tour Guide into Levier is basically what it's used for, and it just allows me to bring back Mizuki, therefore bringing back Plague Spreader just to go for another Synchro is really what it's used for. Next up, because Beelze will force your opponent usually to throw out multiple cards to get over it for some decks. Like, for example, in a deck like Hieratic Dragons, they would be forced to make either Exabeetle, or they would be forced to make something like a Big Eye if they're playing the Dragon Ruler build. Like, they're going to be forced to use a lot of cards, and by that time, you've already drawn so many cards. Hopefully, you've drawn an Effect Veiler, so you can just negate the Big Eye, and then from there, you just attack Big Eye. And that deck usually only runs 1 to 2 Big Eye, but if they're only playing 1 at that point, or if they don't even play Exostag, because I know they've got Star Eater, they've got like so much like other tech cards that they want to play, they just might not have enough room to play 2 Big Eye, and at that point, or if they don't even have Beetle, then at that point, it's pretty much game over, because like, what are they going to do, make Trident Dragon, make it have like 4 attacks, or actually 3 attacks I think is the max you can get it up to, but like it doesn't matter, you can't destroy this card by battle, and then it gains attack, so it's not realistic for them anyways. Next I play 3 Plague Spreader. You want to draw this card as quickly as possible. Like this, if you draw both of these and you have a Grepher in hand, it's pretty much like you're going to be able to go for a first turn double level 8 Synchro monsters. And if you really want to, you could put Stardust in the deck, but I found Stardust to be like kind of lacking because like Beelze, he protects himself harder than the Stardust anyways, and like Stardust doesn't prevent banishing, and that's basically what hurts Beelze, is him either getting targeted, which you can actually input Save Zone if you really wanted to, protect him even harder. But there are certain cards like Tiramisu which don't target, but you have Effect Veiler for that if you happen to match up against it. Well, next up, 3 Effect Veiler, because Effect Veiler stops cards like Tiramisu, and it basically stops a lot of cards that would normally get over Beelze. Pretty much this and Big Eye are the main cards that are used to get over Beelze that are monsters. But for the traps, we got these, which we'll talk about later. Next up, Lord of Darkness. You play a Lord of Dark, why not play it? Next up, 1 Book of Life. I think 1 is sufficient. Next up, 1 Reinforcement of the Army. Grepher basically makes this deck. If you open up with Grepher, usually you have, within the next couple turns, you should be able to get out a, level 8 Synchro, unless they're going to negate you or something like that. But Reinforcement of the Army, fantastic card. This card, I felt like it should have been banned a long time ago. I feel like it's probably going to get banned in the future relatively soon. Anything that steals your opponent's monsters for like little to no cost. I know this says that you can't declare an attack, but you can still use the monster's effect, you can still XYZ with the monster, you can still Synchro with the monster, so I like this card a lot. And there are certain times where, you just grab a face down and you just attack for game, because, that one card is trying to prevent you from OTKing, and it might be like a Mystic Tomato or something that you can, XYZ or Synchro with, and it's just in the way. Next up, Dark Hole. What I love with Dark Hole is if I have Beelze, I can Dark Hole myself, and then like I get rid of their face down monster. It's usually what happens. It's always like a face down monster that is like down on the ground, and then it's preventing me from finishing off the game, because this deck can actually put up a lot of damage on board relatively quick. Like, it's very, very common to throw out 2 level 8 Synchros. Sometimes it's a little difficult to pull off the 3 level 8 Synchros, but it's very common to pull off like a XYZ and like a Synchro, like 2 Synchros and like an XYZ, I would say, is pretty common in this deck. But yeah, Dark Hole yourself, then make your plays. Foolish, because this is a good idea to Foolish. Also Foolishing Plague, also Foolishing Militia, so you guys get it from there. Next up, just to get rid of any back row, and then preventing myself from getting things like Deprison, or other things like Compulse, Karma Cut that no one really main decks, but it's not a bad card. But Lance just prevents you from getting like, Wind Blast and all those other little things that just like, get rid of Beelze by non-destruction effects. Lance can actually protect you from that. So that's a pretty good card. I really like the addition of Lance. Plus, whenever you take battle damage, you gain that damage, so that's pretty good. Like, not only do you'll take some damage initially from, like, let's say you attack into a monster that has 3,000 attack and they deprison, you just activate Lance. Now you go ahead and take the 800 damage, but then you gain 800, and then in the end phase you return back to your 3,000, and then you still have the extra 800 because this only lasts until the end phase. So you'd be at 3,800 that can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Almost reminds me of Yoke without the attachments, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and go over the extra deck. So we got double Beelze, we got one Void Ogre Dragon, one Jeweled Red Dragon Archfiend. This card is absolutely fantastic because it clears the board. I think this card is it's really, really OP, but Beelze is pretty darn good myself. Like, there are times where I'm like, I really want to make this, but this basically protects himself, and that's essentially why I just dropped Stardust completely. Next up we have Crimson Blade. This card is very good because if you're playing against decks that like to special summon high level monsters, you just say no. Scrap Dragon is really good in this deck because Scrap Dragon plus Beelze is pretty awesome because you can just keep on popping Beelze, and Beelze obviously won't be affected by it, and Scrap Dragon is not a cost, so it's not like that monster has to go to the grave or anything like that. So it's pretty good in that aspect. Black Rose just randomly there. I mean, there are times where you need to go for Malicious and normal summon the Effect Veiler, and then you can just go for a quick Black Rose. This card originally was going to be used as a stepping stone. What I originally had planned for this deck, actually, when I was building it, because it was originally, like I said, a zombie deck. This one, I mean, it technically still is zombies, but it's more so as a level 8 synchro deck. But originally my idea was to use cards like Fiendish Chain and Call of the Haunted, make Vulcan the Divine One, bounce back the cards, and then go ahead and go for Plague Spreader's effect twice. So it would be something like, for example, I would go for Zombie Master, then I would discard a card to special summon Plague Spreader, and then I would synchro for this, bounce back a Fiendish Chain, bounce back a Call of the Haunted, and then I would be able to just go stack another card for Plague Spreader, and then special summon Plague Spreader, then go ahead and make Beelze from there, and then kind of go ahead and get some advantage. But that deck was a little bit slower than this, and I wanted to make a faster deck because decks need to be faster in Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, if anyone has been playing any competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, you would know there are so many games where if you don't throw out something really good within the first like 2 turns, you lose the game. But next up we have Photon Panther Papilliar Operative. That card is so darn hard to say. But anyways, this card, it's basically used for BLS. You can opt to play other things. But there are so many times where once you throw out Beelze, all your opponent does is they play really defensively because they're trying to stall for their correct cards, or they need to stall for the right setup to make that correct card, or even getting that Fiendish Chain to stop Beelze from attacking and negating its effect. So a lot of times they'll be playing very passive because they don't want to use their good cards because they can't get over Beelze anyway. So like they'll just play a little bit passively. So it's a good card. Same thing with this. I mean, there is times where you face against things like Marshmallow, and I don't really like facing things like Marshmallow, so I just make this and be like, nah, you take 1,000 now. You want to make me take 1,000 when I attack you? I'm going to make you take 1,000 when I send you to the graveyard. Next up, 2 Lavalla Kane. I would say this is probably the most important XYZ in this deck. Other than this card is absolutely ridiculous. But Levier is pretty good. Tour Guide, obviously make Levier get back to the Mizuki and abuse Mizuki as much as possible. And then we have Zenmaines, just because it's a really good defensive card. Although the Fortune Tune has kind of been getting my favor for like best defensive like generic rank 3 because that card can't be targeted. And a lot of time with Zenmaines, they target it with this or they target it with this, and you just have a bad time. So there has been a lot of times where I would rather have Fortune Tune, but this card technically can generate more advantage, if you guys get what I'm saying. But as far as the deck goes, I do want to mention that not everything is out yet, so if you're looking to actually build this deck in real life, the cards that aren't available, obviously Beelze is not available yet. Hopefully we will get this soon because I find this to be a fantastic card. I mean, basically it's telling us synchros, they don't want synchros to die because as this game has been going, XYZ is just getting much more better, I would say, because like they're just so much easier to make than synchros. There's too many like 1 cards to the free level rank 4 monster, and also that Noble Swarm card. That card's pretty good too. You can definitely drop like a Zenmaines if you really wanted to, and that card is definitely good. But I mean, what it comes down to is this is the card that you want to make. But this card's really good. It's not out yet. Void Ogre Dragon's already out. Jeweled Red Dragon Archfiend is not out. Other than that, everything is actually available. Sneak peek. Was that last week? But anyways, this card will be out relatively soon for legal play. Actually, I think it was legal last week. Anyways, this card's out now. I mean, you could purchase it. But the only cards, like I said, that aren't out are going to be Jeweled Red Dragon Archfiend and Beelze, the King of Dragons. But it's nonetheless a very fun deck. I don't think it has like the highest ability to compete with the highest tier meta decks, simply because so many high tier meta decks can just make Big Eye, but as long as you have that effect Baylor, sometimes, like I said, there are certain decks that only have 1 or 2 options to get rid of Beelze, and if you get rid of both those options, they lose. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. And like I said, if you guys want to check out a video of this deck tag dueling, so you can kind of understand how quick the deck can actually run, as well as I'll put a link down below to actually how to counter this deck, because I know a lot of players are afraid of Beelze coming into the game. But honestly, it's not like OP to the point of a Judgment Dragon, but it is a pretty darn strong card. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Azneyes out.